What's going on, 49er faithful? Thank you for tuning in to Keeping the Faith. I'm JD, and we are officially in the dead period. We're in the dead zone. It's the slowest time of the year if you're an NFL fan. But all is not negative. All is not bad, right? Because we're just under a month out from the start of 49ers 2025 training camp. The rookies report in about 3 weeks on July 15th, with the veterans reporting to Santa Clara 1 week later on July 22nd. So we're right around the corner, guys. The NFL season is fast approaching, but we still have a little bit of dead air to fill, a little bit of a dead period, a little bit of time where we can get into some different topics. We can have a little bit of fun. We can do some different things when it comes to talking 49er football. And tonight, I thought, you know what? Let's talk about a topic that I've discussed with friends over the years, just randomly, shooting the breeze about football, shooting the breeze about the Niners. I've had this conversation with fellow 49er faithful in my personal life. And I thought, why not bring it onto YouTube? Why not make this a topic for a live stream? And what I'm referring to, you guys saw the thumbnail, you see the title. Which 49ers core is more beloved by the faithful? And by core, I'm referring to the two spectacular cores of players, the groups of players that the 49ers have fielded over the past 20 years between the Harbaugh era and the Shanahan era. Now, technically, the Harbaugh era, it really started in 2005 with Mike Nolan, general manager Scott McCloughan, and that group. That's when the Harbaugh era began being built, was in 2005. But for the sake of just, simplicity's sake, I'm going to refer to it as the Harbaugh era because that's when the team saw their success. So I hope you guys follow me. And of course, we have the current Kyle Shanahan era, which started in 2017 when Kyle Shanahan agreed to become the 49ers head coach, along with general manager John Lynch. That regime has been from 2017 until the present, where the Harbaugh era or that era, that group of players was from 2005 until 2014. So what I want to do tonight is kind of go through those two core groups of players, those two eras. And I want to lay it out there, my thoughts on each era, each group of players, right? And I want to give you my thoughts on which core that I personally have more of an affinity for. Which core really, pulled on the heartstrings, which core means more to me, right? And after I do that, I want to reach out to you guys, the faithful. And of course, I'll take your chats, in your chat, your comments in the chat, show them on the screen. But I also want to take your calls tonight. So in a little bit, I will be posting the StreamYard link in the chat, and I want to hear from the faithful. Which core means more to you? Which core is more beloved? That Mike Nolan, Jim Harbaugh era 49er group, or this current Kyle Shanahan core group of players? But before we get into that, let me say what's up to everybody that's watching. If you're here, drop your ones in the chat. Let me know you're in the building, and I'll say what's up, because you guys know how I like to do it, man. When I start the show, I love to show love to the viewers, to the faithful that are in the building. So drop your ones. Let me see who's here, and let's get into tonight's show. Heck of a first comment from my guy, Half Dead. He says, trade Aiyuk for a box of pupusas, fam. Look, tonight's not the night for the Brandon Aiyuk discourse, and quite frankly, I've beaten that dead horse into the ground over the last several weeks. You know what? I don't even want to talk about Brandon Aiyuk, to be honest with you. What more needs to be said? No matter what the 49ers do, no matter how many millions of dollars the Niners pay him, he's just not going to be happy. Brandon Aiyuk's just not going to be happy. And of course, the part of the news of the day was that Brandon Aiyuk took to his YouTube treating it like his personal Facebook page, and posted something on his community wall talking about that, they tried to trade me while I was laid up in bed and on painkillers and yada, yada, yada. Nobody was going to trade for me. What are you thinking? I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what Brandon Ayuk said. I didn't care. I don't care what Brandon Ayuk says at this point. I mean, what else is he going to say? I don't care anymore. Just shut up. I'm tired of Brandon Ayuk. You guys know this. I'm and Brandon Ayuk, of course, when he says they, he's referring to the media, the talking heads, the fans on social media. He's not referring to the team. I think he's referring to the fan base, to the media, who constantly put out there the narrative that the 49ers should look to trade Brandon Ayuk, even though he's injured. We saw that this offseason, right? But I just don't care. Brandon, I just don't care anymore, dude. Like, all your rants and your complaints and your grievances are just you're I don't know. I'm just over it, man. Like, I just don't care. I don't care anymore, Brandon. Like, I just don't care. So tonight's not the night for the Brandon Ayuk stuff. We'll talk about Brandon Ayuk when he actually says something worthwhile, because at this point he's acting like a brat. Anytime he gets bored or anytime he gets in his feelings, he just acts like a brat and posts on social media for attention. So I'm over Brandon Ayuk. I'm over that whole discussion, and I wanted to do something fun tonight here on Keeping the Faith. And like I said, I want to get into the different eras, the Harbaugh era, the Shanahan era, the core groups of players that we had from 2005 to 2014, along with the core group that Shanahan and Lynch have built since 2017 in San Francisco. But real quick, before we get into that, and we will momentarily, trust me, if you guys want to help support the channel, and if you want to have access to behind the scenes content, members only 49ers videos, an awesome community where we chat Niner football on the daily. And of course, if you want to be involved in monthly giveaways, and we are having our June monthly giveaway raffle drawing on Patreon this coming weekend. So if you want to be entered in that, go over to Patreon, become a member, and you will be entered into the raffle for the monthly giveaway for the month of June. It's an awesome way to support the channel if you enjoy the content, and it's also a cool way to interact with a bunch of your fellow faithful, and it's an awesome way to interact with me in ways that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. We have a lot of things coming. I'm trying to get a fantasy football league going for Patreon members exclusively, and as the season gets closer, there's going to be more behind the scenes videos, more members only stuff. It's going to get bigger and bigger as we go, but I need you guys to step your game up, man. We need some more Patreon members over there. Ask the guys that are part of the Patreon right now. They enjoy it. Fly Esai, he's a Patreon member. He's in these chats. He calls into these shows all the time here on YouTube. He'll tell you that the Patreon's cool. So check it out. It's worth your time. And I would appreciate anyone who signs up to become a Patreon member today. But with that, let's go ahead and get into the eras, the Shanahan era versus the Harbaugh era. Which core group of players are more beloved to you? And I think it's an interesting topic. I don't know if it's necessarily controversial, but at the very least, I think it's an interesting topic. I really do. It's something that I think about, more often than you probably would think. And given, depending on the day, I might change my mind. But I have an opinion, and I have a decision that I made, a choice that I've made of which era ultimately really does mean more to me, this current Shanahan era or the bygone Jim Harbaugh / Mike Nolan 49er core group of players that started being built in 2005. So in 2005, we all remember the San Francisco 49ers passed on Aaron Rodgers with the first overall pick in the 2005 draft. And oddly enough, Aaron Rodgers is still playing, and revealed today that that'll probably be his last year in the NFL this coming season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but that's neither here nor there. The 49ers selected Alex Smith with the number 1 overall selection in the 2005 draft. And look, he never lived up to the billing. of that 2005 number one overall pick. And he had several injuries, several offensive coordinators. We remember the Alex Smith years, how turbulent that they were, how uncertain that they were, how shaky they were. We remember the "We Want Carr" game on Sunday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles, when the fan base was so fed up that they started chanting "We want Carr, we want Carr" at Candlestick Park. I was there for that game. It was one of the most surreal moments I've ever seen from a sports fan base. But that 2005 draft also included a future Hall of Famer and the franchise's greatest running back in the history of the red and gold, being Frank Gore out of the University of Miami. And that 2005 draft really started that current era that went on to finally have success once Jim Harbaugh took over in 2011. But after selecting Alex Smith and Frank Gore in the 2005 draft, they built on it, because in the 2006 draft, in the first round, the 49ers selected tight end Vernon Davis, a player who had 2 seasons with over 10 touchdowns. Many regarded him, prior to George Kittle, many regarded Vernon Davis as potentially the greatest tight end in the history of the 49ers. Now, I think if you ask the fan base, if you polled the fan base, the majority would probably tell you George Kittle is the best tight end. But at the time, Vernon Davis was a revolution in the NFL. He brought elite speed to the position along with his tremendous size and strength. He was an excellent blocker. He was a great red zone target. I mean, sure, he caught everything with his chest, but he was good at it. He was good at it. We loved Vernon Davis out here in San Francisco. Then you move on to 2007, and 2 more building blocks, 2 more pillars of what would be an amazing core group were drafted in 2007 in the first round, being Patrick Willis out of Ole Miss, the linebacker, Hall of Famer, and Joe Staley, the longtime left tackle who played through several regimes, through several coaches, through ups and downs, and became an ultimate fan favorite, a very, very much beloved member of the 49ers, left tackle Joe Staley. Then you get to 2008, not so much. 2009, the 49ers selected Michael Crabtree, wide receiver out of Texas Tech, in the first round. At the time, was one of the most exciting drafts that I can remember as a 49ers fan, watching him slip down the draft boards in 2009. Darius Hayward-Bay going to the Raiders at number 7, almost assuredly guaranteeing that the 49ers would be able to select Michael Crabtree. I was at the 49ers draft party in Santa Clara with a couple thousand 49er fans when Michael Crabtree's name was called out, and Niner fans went nuts. Michael Crabtree was a big part of that core. Away from the draft, and this is actually going back a year to 2008, the 49ers go out and acquire defensive end Justin Smith from the Cincinnati Bengals, and he became one of the most beloved 49ers of that era. And he wasn't a guy that was drafted by the 49ers. He wasn't a grassroots 49er player. He was an outsider who came in, brought his lunch pail, and he kicked ass. Justin Smith was an absolute animal, and Niner fans fell in love with him almost instantly, and he became such a huge part of the success that the 49ers would soon enjoy under Jim Harbaugh and that group. 2010, the San Francisco 49ers selected a linebacker in the 3rd round out of Penn State who nobody thought much of at the time, but he turned out to be another all-timer for the 49ers, another, Pro Bowler, another just linchpin of a amazing 49ers defense in linebacker NaVorro Bowman. He didn't play in 2010 because the Niners still had Takeo Spikes at the time to team up with Patrick Willis. But NaVorro Bowman was selected in 2010. Then you fast forward to 2011. NaVorro Bowman becomes the starter next to Patrick Willis, and that tandem helps lead the best 49ers defense I've ever seen. The 2011 49ers defense under Vic Fangio, led by that core of Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, Justin Smith. Oh, yeah. And honorable mention, the rookie first rounder out of Missouri, Aldon Smith. I mean, that core group of players where you have Alex Smith, Frank Gore, Joe Staley, Patrick Willis, Vernon Davis, Justin Smith. You can throw in Michael Crabtree. You can honorable mention Aldon Smith, right? I love that core group of guys, man. That group was being assembled like in the beginning years of my adulthood. In 2005, I was graduating high school. I turned 18 that summer. I got a 49er tattoo on my arm that summer on my 18th birthday. And that core group of players was my first taste of what good 49er football really looks like. Because I was too young in the glory days of Joe Montana, Jerry Rice. I got to see the tail end of Steve Young. I got to see a bit of Jerry Rice, man, but I wasn't old enough to appreciate those days. So this core group of players that we saw the 49ers assemble brick by brick just over the years, starting with Alex Smith with the first overall pick in 2005, I fell in love with I really fell in love with football because of that group. Of course, I loved football before that. Terrell Owens, Jeff Garcia, I love those teams as well. But that core group was really my first taste of seeing your team come from nothing and be built up into becoming a contender in the NFL. And the Niners, they hired Jim Harbaugh in 2011. They bring in Vic Fangio and Greg Roman to fill out that coaching staff. And they become one of the best teams in the National Football League. 3 straight NFC Championship games, a Super Bowl appearance in 2012. And speaking of 2012, you have to include Colin Kaepernick with that core. And, he was lightning in a bottle, man. He was so fun to watch. So I guess if you're talking about quarterbacks during that era, you have to go with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick because they both had big time meaning to that era and what that era means to me. And it sucks that core group of guys didn't get a ring. It hurts me to this day. Whether you blame, the play calling down on the 5-yard line in the Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens, Super Bowl 47, where they threw 4 fades to Crabtree, basically, instead of giving the ball to your future Hall of Famer and running back Frank Gore. Or you want to blame Kyle Williams for muffing that punt in overtime of the 2011 NFC Championship game. I was at that game too. Or you want to blame, Richard Sherman with the Seattle Seahawks, Legion of Boom, for tipping that pass and ripping our hearts out in 2013 in that NFC Championship game. I mean, it just hurts that core never got to the mountaintop. They got this close, but they didn't pull it out. And we saw what happened in 2014 when the team moved to Levi Stadium. Patrick Willis out for most of that season with a hurt foot. Navarro Bowman didn't even play in 2014 because he blew up his knee in the 2013 NFC Championship game. And then following that 2014 season, Jed York and the 49ers elect to move on from Jim Harbaugh. Patrick Willis retires. Justin Smith retires. They release Aldon Smith. I mean that was one of the most painful off seasons I've ever been through as a 49er fan. I mean, the hits just kept coming. And it was the end to what was an amazing, amazing run by a core group of players that will forever be revered in the hearts and minds of the 49er faithful. And I just wanted to lay that out and pay homage and pay respects to what was my first real taste of what good 49er football looks like. And I love that team. I absolutely love that team. But we're comparing eras here. And I mentioned that Harbaugh era. I laid that out to you guys. And now let's talk about the Shanahan era, which is still ongoing. It started in 2017 when the 49ers hired Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch to spearhead this current regime that 49ers fans get to cheer for today. And let's face it, it didn't start off so hot. 2017, the 49ers start 0-9. They draft George Kittle in that 2017 draft. And at the time, they didn't know what he was going to turn into. But when they selected George Kittle in the 5th round of that 2017 draft, they selected a future Hall of Famer, because George Kittle has gone on to become, in my opinion, the 49ers' greatest tight end in franchise history. And I really don't think it's very debatable. I really don't. Everything that he does on the field as a receiver, as a blocker, as a team leader, as a spokesman, everything he does for the fan base, being the face of a franchise, being just this outgoing, charismatic guy. Nobody knew what George Kittle was going to be when they drafted him in the 5th round of that 2017 draft. But man, that was a home run pick. And he is for me, just I'm speaking for me. He's in my top 3 favorite 49ers of all time. So that tells you how much I love and respect what George Kittle has done for this team. So I'm just going to put that out there right now. You can't say anything bad to me about George Kittle. I'm not going to hear it. And along with George Kittle, they signed Kyle Juszczyk, who was a huge part of this core. He's been a perennial Pro Bowler, a huge piece to the run game, a Swiss Army knife sort of chess piece for Kyle Shanahan over the years. He's beloved. The Niner fans love him. Niner fans absolutely love and adore Kyle Juszczyk. I mean, let Kyle Juszczyk touch the ball in a game at Levi's Stadium, and you are going to hear a loud and deafening juice every single time. Niner fans love Kyle Juszczyk. He has become a very much a very well-respected member of this core that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have built. Then, of course, after that 0-9 start, the Niners trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. The Niners acquired Jimmy Garoppolo on Halloween in 2017, and he plays the last 5 games of the year. The Niners go 5-0, and that alone basically forced the Niners' hand, and they signed Jimmy Garoppolo that offseason to at the time, the biggest contract in NFL history. And Jimmy Garoppolo is a part of this core. No matter what some people may think or whatever their opinion on Jimmy Garoppolo is, he was a huge part of this core that the 49ers have built since Kyle Shanahan took over. Now we know that they moved on to Brock Purdy after selecting him with the final pick in the 2022 NFL draft. They turned the reins over to Brock Purdy that 2022 season after injuries to Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, and Brock Purdy took that job and ran with it. So just like you have Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick in that previous era, in this current era, you have Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy, 2 quarterbacks in one era. And Brock Purdy, of course, just signed his massive extension. He's locked up. He's the 49ers quarterback for better or for worse, for good or bad. Whatever you think about Brock Purdy, he's your guy. He's the 49ers guy. And he is a part of this transition, of this next core that the team is building. But he's also a part of the core that the team has had over the last several seasons that included NFC Championship appearances in 2022 and 2023, that Super Bowl appearance in 2023. Brock Purdy is just as much a part of that core as Jimmy Garoppolo to me. Of course, Jimmy Garoppolo, took the Niners to a Super Bowl or helped take the Niners to a Super Bowl in 2019, multiple playoff appearances. So those guys are beloved by 49ers fans in this era for obvious reasons. Then, of course, you have Fred Warner, who was drafted in the 3rd round of the 2018 NFL draft, who's gone on to become the best middle linebacker in all of the National Football League. You add in Dre Greenlaw next to him in the 5th round of the 2019 draft, and you had yet another historic, beloved, just amazing tandem. They had Willis and Bowman in the Harbaugh era, and then you moved on to this current era, and you had Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw for several years. Now, of course, we know Dre Greenlaw moved on, and that hurts, and we're still feeling the sting from that. But you can't take anything away from Dre Greenlaw, man. He was a part of the core. He and Fred Warner were definitely key members of this 49ers defense as we have known it under the likes of Robert Saleh, Steve Wilks, and Nick Sorensen. And they were the backbone to some really, really great 49ers defenses, just like Patrick Willis and NaVorro Bowman were in that aforementioned era. Deebo Samuel, another core member of this Kyle Shanahan era at wide receiver, selected in the second round of the 2019 NFL Draft. I mean, who can forget what Deebo Samuel did in the 2021 season? That, to me, that's on the short list of the most incredible single seasons I've ever seen from a 49ers player. He carried the 49ers that year. And without him, I don't know what the Niners do. Deebo Samuel, saved jobs that year. He was special, whether it was catching passes and taking it the distance or, getting handoffs in the backfield and making things happen. Deebo Samuel was electric that year. He was historic that year. He was a revolution that year for Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I think he saved some jobs that season. I truly, truly do. Deebo Samuel, of course, a very much beloved member of this core group from this era. So anytime you're talking about this Kyle Shanahan era, you have to mention Deebo. You just do. Nick Bosa, going back to the defensive side of the ball. Number 2 overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft. He's been the 49ers' best defensive lineman ever since. I mean, since day one, he's been the man. Defensive Player of the Year, multi-time Pro Bowl or All-Pro player. I mean, the dude gets double and triple teamed every single snap, and people wonder why he doesn't always get a million sacks every year. Now they finally got him some real help for the first time in a little while, and I look forward to seeing Nick Bosa return to form this year and put up some big numbers. Of course, Nick Bosa has been an absolute huge piece of this current 49ers core that Niner fans hold so dearly. Then you have Trent Williams, who wasn't drafted by the 49ers. He was acquired in a trade during the 2020 NFL Draft after Joe Staley announced his retirement. Trent Williams has came in and been an amazing force on the 49ers offensive line, still regarded as potentially the best left tackle in all of football, even at his current advanced age. Trent Williams has been amazing, absolutely incredible. And even though he wasn't drafted by this regime, Niner fans still love him. Niner fans respect Trent Williams. They know how good of a player he is. If you listen to the 49ers players themselves talk, they'll tell you just how good Trent Williams is every time his name's brought up. But Trent Williams has been an integral piece of this 49ers core since 2020 when he was brought in. And then honorable mention. Actually, hold on. I missed one. Christian McCaffrey. How the hell can I forget Christian McCaffrey? He was acquired via trade in the 2022 season from the Carolina Panthers. And he was a godsend when he came in here and completely changed this 49ers offense. He gave Kyle Shanahan the weapon that he could have only dreamed of. I mean, Christian McCaffrey has been absolutely elite. Now, yes, he had a down year in 2024 due to injuries. We know that story. But you can't discredit, you can't discount what Christian McCaffrey has meant to this 49ers team, to Kyle Shanahan's offense since day one in the building. And I've said this before to people, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way that I do. To me, there's 2 different categories. The greatest 49ers running back of all time is Frank Gore. And I say greatest based on his accomplishments, his statistics, his longevity, his success, everything that he accumulated during his time here makes Frank Gore the greatest 49ers running back of all time. But if we're just talking about pure skill, pure talent, pure ability, Christian McCaffrey is the best 49ers running back of all time. I think it just in terms of skill and ability, Christian McCaffrey is the top of the line. He's that guy. Christian McCaffrey is the most skilled running back the 49ers have ever had. I'm not saying he's the greatest. I'm just saying in terms of ability, he's the best. There's a difference. I'm not sliding Frank Gore at all. That is not what I'm doing. But Christian McCaffrey, another guy who was an outsider like Trent Williams, came in and just ingratiated themselves with the 49ers, the culture, and the fan base. Absolute core member Christian McCaffrey is. And then honorable mention, just like I had the honorable mention of Aldon Smith during the Harbaugh era, because his run was short-lived, but man, that star shined bright before it burned out just as quickly with Aldon. But honorable mention with this Kyle Shanahan era, Brandon Ayuk. I know I've said some disparaging things about Brandon Ayuk the last several weeks, and really for the past year, I've been feeling some type of way about Brandon Ayuk and the way that he's handled his business, but you can't take away what Brandon Ayuk has meant and what he has done for this football team. Brandon Ayuk has been the 49ers' best wide receiver for the last several seasons, and he's a heck of a player when he's healthy, man. He's made some incredible plays, had some incredible moments. Who can forget the Ladybug catch in the NFC Championship game against the Detroit Lions? Without that single play, the 49ers don't win that game, period. And I can feel however I want to feel about Brandon Ayuk, but I'm not going to take that away from him. Brandon Ayuk has absolutely been an amazing member of this core for the last several seasons after being drafted in the 2020 NFL draft. So there you have it. I laid it out there. I know I can be wordy. I know I can ramble and I can talk for way too long, but you have the Harbaugh era / Mike Nolan, Scott McCloughan, whatever you want to call it, the 2005 to 2014 era. How does that stack up against this Kyle Shanahan era for you guys? 2017 to the present. The reason I'm doing this is because the Kyle Shanahan era, as we know it, it's over. The Niners are transitioning into a new era, the Brock Purdy era. Who knows if Brandon Ayuk returns to form? Deebo Samuel is in Washington. Dre Greenlaw is in Denver. That core group, as we know it, it's over. It's done. Just like that Harbaugh era, this core group that the Niner fans grew to love, that the Niner fans watched go to battle for years, multiple NFC Championship games, 2 Super Bowl appearances, that core group suffered the same fate as the Harbaugh era Niners. And they didn't get it done. And they didn't get a ring. And it sucks. It hurts very, very badly. And I'm going to ask you guys, which core group do you appreciate more? Which core group do you just love more? Which group is your group? If you had to pick, right? I'll tell you mine. I had season tickets at Candlestick Park from 2009 until 2013 when the stadium closed. And of course, I went to several games at Candlestick over the years before that. But I had season tickets the final 5 years at Candlestick. And yes, that's 2 years before Jim Harbaugh arrived. For anyone that wants to, say anything. But I went to I went to like 75 games at Candlestick Park, close to it over the years. And like I said, that core group really, truly just helped me become the 49er fan that I am today because I watched it from its inception. I became an adult as that team was being built. I started going to games on my own with friends and I wasn't a little kid anymore. And I watched that group be built from the ground up, starting with Alex Smith being drafted number 1 overall in the 2005 draft. And there's just something about those memories of being at Candlestick Park, despite years of bad football, knowing that this team was special. They had the talent. They just needed the coaching. Mike Nolan gets fired. Mike Singletary takes over. A little bit of an improvement, right? But still wasn't great football. But we knew that the pieces were in place. They just needed to be coached. Along comes Jim Harbaugh, and everything changed. 2011 was a revelation. From the basement to the NFC Championship game at Candlestick Park, a historic playoff game the round before against the New Orleans Saints. Alex Smith to Vernon Davis. How poetic is that? Coming from where they came from the lowest of lows with the 49ers as they built that team from the ground up. Having those guys, Alex Smith and Vernon Davis, being the ones that helped the Niners win one of their most memorable playoff games in the last 25 years. And I love that team. I loved Colin Kaepernick. Say what you want about his antics, politics, whatever. I don't care. I'm just talking football. Colin Kaepernick was fun to watch, man. Period. And that core was special because it was the first time in my adult life, the first time in my life while I was old enough to appreciate it, that I saw a 49er team go to the damn Super Bowl. And it was amazing. One of the best days of my life, watching the Niners defeat the Atlanta Falcons in the 2012 NFC Championship game. Shout out to my boy 49er Tone. We were watching that game together. It was awesome. That core group, to me, I'm just going to be honest with you. That core group, that's the one that gets it for me. I give the advantage to that core group. Where does my allegiance lie? I mean, of course, I love this current 49ers team. I love this Kyle Shanahan era. Like I mentioned earlier, George Kittle is one of my favorite all-time 49ers. He is on the short list. But if we're talking core group, I don't know. My emotions, my heart is with that 2011 team, with that Harbaugh era 49er group, right? I loved Aldon Smith too. Like he was probably, aside from like Frank Gore and Colin Kaepernick, Aldon Smith was my favorite Niner on those teams, aside from those guys. Aldon Smith was amazing. It sucks what happened to him with his career. It's unfortunate to see a Hall of Fame talent like Aldon Smith, not realize his full potential. But Aldon was a dog. He was an absolute dog, man. I mean, rookie franchise sack record in 2011. The dude almost broke the sack record in 2012. I mean, Aldon Smith was amazing. But I love that Harbaugh team. And I love the Shanahan team as well. Don't get me wrong. I love Nick Bosa. I love Christian McCaffrey. I have respect for Trent Williams and Brock Purdy and Fred Warner. Dre Greenlaw, one of my favorites. I'm still pissed that they let Dre Greenlaw walk out that door. And like I said, George Kittle is one of my all-time favorites. He's on the short list for me. My all-time favorite Niners, Frank Gore, Terrell Owens, George Kittle. No particular order. And, for that alone, this era is obviously special to me. And I know it's special to tons of other Niner fans, right? Every other Niner fan loves the team that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have built over the years. But if I had to give the advantage to one core group in terms of just my fandom, my fanatical side of things, I guess I would lean with that Harbaugh era, because we watched that team get built for so many years, so many just letdowns and disappointments, but they kept on building. They didn't quit. They kept building it up. And then we saw that team finally get the coach that we knew that's all that they needed was coaching, right? And maybe a couple little pieces, to sprinkle on top. And we saw them realize that potential that we knew that they had for all those years at Candlestick Park. And I don't know. There's something about that era to me that's just so special. So I'll stop rambling. With that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the phone line, and I want to hear from you guys. Give me 1 second, and I will post a link in the chat, and you are welcome to click that link and join the StreamYard. And don't worry, you will not be on camera. You will be backstage. So you can join however you wish, and you'll be able to join the live stream and give me your thoughts. Let me go ahead and pin the link. I can't do it from my computer, so bear with me. I have to do it on my phone. I hate that StreamYard doesn't let you pin the link yourself that way, but I will pin the link and you guys can now join. I want to hear from the faithful. I want to know your thoughts. What core group is your favorite? Is it the Harbaugh era? Is it the Shanahan era? Where does your heart lie? If you had to pick a core group, like which one means more to you? Which one do you appreciate more? Which one hurt more? Losing that Harbaugh era Super Bowl or losing the two Shanahan Super Bowls? What era just affects you more? I want to know. I laid it out there. I've been talking for 45 minutes. And now it's your guys' shot. So I appreciate you for sticking with me. We have a caller backstage. Let me go ahead and bring him up. What's up, man? Thanks for calling in. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you doing tonight?
Not too shabby, man. Thanks for always chatting during the streams and stuff. I'm glad you finally decided to call in.
Yes, sir. I like this StreamYard. That's like one of the best.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I've been meaning to learn it. I was using OBS before. I finally got around to learning StreamYard, and we're looking professional. We're looking good. So, I got to ask you, man, the topic of tonight's show in terms of
Yes, sir.
core 49ers, like the core eras, which one means more to you? Which one hurts you more? Like, if you had to pick a group, which one do you side with?
Ooh, that's tough, bro. Because you know what? I grew up in the era with the Bill Walsh era, and I knew as a fan that when the 49ers would go to the Super Bowls, I knew they were winning that Super Bowl, especially when George Seifert took over. I felt in my heart of hearts that if Bill Walsh would have stuck around, he would have probably been one of the first coaches to three-peat since the Green Bay Packers. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. But going back to those cores with Harbaugh and Shanahan, man, I mean, it's like really tough, man. That to me has to be neck and neck, and I'll definitely have to go with the Harbaugh years for sure, man, because you fall in love with those players that were coming up that nobody expected to blossom. You know, like Vernon Davis. Like nobody thought he was going to be a stud. Look what happened to him. And Frank Gore, man, that dude, the way he would run, wow, man, it was like he was wearing stickum glue, on his uniform, and he wasn't. That's just the way how he played. And I just felt bad for Kaepernick and some of the quarterbacks that played, and just the relationship that the 49ers had with Harbaugh. It's like that. They had to go out like that. But I mean, they had their chances, to win that Super Bowl against the Ravens. I felt like if Harbaugh didn't call that timeout and would have let Cap use his legs, maybe they would have been holding a trophy.
Yeah, and that's what just. I mean, you can make that same argument for the Shanahan Super Bowls that they lost. I mean, both of those games came down to the very end as well. But it's like it's just so many what ifs, and they were so close. And watching that core group of guys, Willis and Bowman and Frank, and just seeing them on the sidelines after that game with tears in their eyes and how upset that they were, like it was brutal.
But you know what, bro? I mean, you're a diehard 49ers fan, just like I am, and I hope that you get to experience a Super Bowl win, because for me, experiencing 5 of them was just like wow. Like
You're
that will
lucky,
never
man.
be.
You're lucky. I'm only 37. So I was 7 years old the last time the Niners won a Super Bowl. So I wasn't old enough
Okay.
to have been around for that. And that's why these two eras mean so much to me, because it's really my first taste of like winning 49er football. I sat through years of terrible football at Candlestick Park, and to see all those years of suffering just pay off with the Harbaugh era. That's why that meant so much.
Oh, for sure, man. I remember going to one of the games over at the time it was called Qualcomm Park over in San Diego. This was like 2001, and it was the Niners and the Chargers, and there was this guy fan, and he invited us to go with him to go meet his cousin. His cousin was Jeff Garcia, the quarterback, number 5.
Wow.
And back then we didn't have any like smartphones or anything like that, and I didn't bring a camera because I didn't know. So then I was blessed to meet the players, and I met Bill Walsh, and we were outside the locker room. We didn't go inside, and then I met Jerry and Tio and some of the other players, and I was just like, man, I wish I would have had a camera with me. But
Wow.
yeah, I remember like the mooch, as as the coach back in the day. And when I remember I was in Frisco at a bar when I was watching that Giants and Niners playoff game when the Niners came back and won it. Back in like January
2000
2003.
2002. I was at that game. Yeah, it
Oh,
was
were
my
you?
yes. I've told that story on here a few times, but I'll be
Wow.
quick. I was 15 years old,
All right.
and I was at that game with my grandfather. And to this day, that's still my favorite game of all time because being there, seeing them come back from being down 38-14 in the third quarter, it was just something I'll never forget. And it was actually the last game that me and my grandfather went to because he passed away a few months after that game. So that game holds so much meaning to me. And yeah, that 2002 wild card, and anytime anyone brings it up, I always talk about it. I was there. I still have my ticket stub.
Yeah, you better keep that in frame it because I was over in downtown Frisco and it was just like incredible. Like everybody, the atmosphere was ecstatic. When they made that comeback and won it. I just wish they would have beaten the Bucks. But what can you do? I mean,
Exactly.
that was a fantastic game, one
Yeah,
for the
it was.
ages.
It was.
And
So
I just wish that I wish that they would have won the Super Bowls. And I'm pretty excited in the sense this year is that there's no pressure on us because the 49ers because nobody expects the 49ers to really do anything. And that's good. You know what I mean? And so I
yeah,
think by having the Robert Sala back, I think it's going to be a great thing. And then everybody's going to get their stuff together. And, I've been hearing a lot of these rookies, like on the defensive end, and how they're blossoming over in like OTs and they're doing pretty good, and everybody's having like a good camp, and then a lot of rookies. Some of these rookies can beat out the starters. You
yeah,
know,
it's gonna be a fun season. I mean, you have a lot of young up and coming players that are gonna be fun to watch. A lot of unknown there that's gonna unfold and be fun to see blossom. And then of course, you still have a core group of guys who have been there and done it, along with a coaching staff who has been there and done it. You bring back Robert Sala, and
oh wow,
you have a schedule that is more than favorable. So yeah, the Niners are, in my opinion, I think they're in store for a really good year.
nah, yeah, I totally agree with you, and we'll see what happens. I'm excited to watch the pre games, the preseason, and then the regular season, and we'll go from there. And as a longtime 49ers fan, we'll see what happens. And plus, the Niners are hosting the Super Bowl, so that's even better. You know,
That too,
or
that too. So real quick, just if you had to
yeah.
pick one, where do you lean? Do you lean the Shanahan era or do you lean the Harbaugh era?
Shoot, man, that's tough. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to give it over to the Harbaugh era. I'm gonna have to give it
Yeah.
over there because I mean, like he was like a really good coach, and like I said, these players like freaking grew up right in front of you, and they became superstars. And then Patrick Willis and that Navarro guy. Wow, man, those
Yeah,
guys are
and I
awesome.
mean, and you watched 9 years of terrible football
With Mike
after they
Nolan.
fired Mariucci, and
Yeah.
that's what made that era so special to me is because we saw the payoff where with this Kyle Shanahan era, yes, you saw a few bad seasons, but Shanahan and them they turned it around really quickly.
Yeah. It's just that they couldn't win any Super Bowls, and I think that again, it was Kyle Shanahan's conservative coaching in the second half of those Super Bowls that messed up. And come on, man, I mean, how could you not know the overtime rules for the last Super Bowl? The Niners had that game, bro. And when I went back to work, they're all teasing on me, saying that the Niners had that game, and and then there's this one coworker that I had that all she was doing was she was playing, clips of the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, and at one point had to walk out, when she was playing all that stuff, like throwing. She was like a sore winner. But
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't work there. I would have got fired that day.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, they had their chances. When you think back real quick of his conservative coaching, look how he did it in that Super Bowl against the Patriots when he was an offensive coordinator for the Falcons. It's like, come on, man. He stopped doing what was winning them, right? Which was running the ball,
I mean,
right?
he got them a 28-3 lead. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm on the side that Kyle Shanahan wasn't calling the defense, man. Kyle Shanahan did his job. He scored 28 points. Like I don't. I get your point, and I agree with it to some extent that
Yeah.
they should have kept running the ball and protecting the lead. But you got to play. It's a team game, man, and the defense surrendered all those points to let the Patriots come back, not Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, that's true. But come on, I mean that so-called curse has so far gone with them the last two Super Bowls, and I hope that isn't a curse. You know what I mean? Hopefully they get it together and finally he doesn't coach conservative. If they do go to the Super Bowl, and he just goes to what has got him there, run, right? The defense.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
we'll see. But Mr. Laid Back, man, thank you for calling in, man. Don't be a stranger. Call back next time we're live, okay?
For sure. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Shout out Mr. Laid Back calling in for the first time. He's been a big time member in the chat for the last several months, and he finally makes his debut phone call to the show. So now's your chance. The phone lines are open. The StreamYard link is pinned down below in the live chat. Click the link, take the link, and come to the backstage, and I'll bring you on the show. I want to hear from you guys. What era means more to you? That Alex Smith, Frank Gore, Patrick Willis, Vernon Davis era, or this current George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Jimmy Garoppolo / Brock Purdy, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa era? Like which era are you more emotionally invested in? I laid my case out there. I laid out both sides, both arguments, and I gave you my choice. I'm more, I don't know. I feel more emotionally attached to that Harbaugh era team. Seeing them come up short and watching that core group of guys just leave the 49ers, walk out the building without a ring after everything that they went through for so many years, it still sucks. It still hurts. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot of those same feelings for this current group of 49ers as well. But if I had to say which group I'm more emotionally attached to, I would probably lean that one. I would probably lean that era. Maybe it's because I was younger and it was the first time. A lot of that stuff was things I was experiencing for the first time, watching the Niners go to an NFC championship game and have a heartbreaking moment in overtime against the New York Giants in 2011 when Kyle Williams muffed the punt. Maybe it was the fact that I got to see my team go to a Super Bowl for the first time since I was old enough to appreciate it in 2012 against the Atlanta Falcons. There was a lot of firsts during that era for me, and a lot of heartbreak for the first time. And I think that's why it pulls on my heartstrings so much still to this day. Of course, this team, this current group still has a lot of those same qualities to it. And I mentioned it. George Kittle is up there with one of my favorite Niners of all time. But if I had to make my choice, like which core do I associate myself with more? And I had season tickets at Candlestick during that time, and I've had season tickets at Levi Stadium since 2019. So I've seen both of them through their entirety. And I just feel like that Harbaugh era, I don't know, there's just something about it. There's just something about it. So now if you guys want to call in, now is your chance. I see a lot of you guys chiming in the chat. I see Chewy's NFL News and Podcast saying, yo. I think it's the first time I've seen you in the chat, man. Thank you for tuning in. Callie Rican, he says, what's up, bro? What's going on, Callie? Thank you for tuning in, man. Don't be strangers, guys. Go ahead and call in. Andrew Martinez says the Harbaugh era is where he lies. We have a Rams fan trying to troll in the chat, but nobody cares about the Rams. The Rams fans don't even care about the Rams. They win a Super Bowl, and there's like 5 people in the streets after the game celebrating. No, the Rams fans don't even care about the Rams, so why should I? Let's see. Who else do we have chiming in the chat tonight? Let me scroll through here. I see Mr. Laid Back, Tommy Huxley, Osmosis in the chat. Shout out Osmosis, another long-time 49ers fan in these YouTube streets and chats. Shout out Osmosis for tuning in. Andrew Martinez says that Ram fan is in every Niners podcast. Yeah, I know. Because Rams fans don't even care enough to do their own podcast. So he has to find other content to watch. And there's tons of 49ers, content creators out there. So if he wants to hear football talk, I guess he'll come watch us before he pays attention to what Rams content creators have to say. Typical Rams fan behavior, really. But if you want to call in and give your thoughts, guys, the phone line's open. The StreamYard link is pinned in the chat. I want to hear from some more people. Don't be shy. I don't care if this is your first time. You're not going to be on camera. All the viewers are going to see and hear is your voice. Your face will not be on screen, so don't worry about that. If you want to call in and give your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you. What era do you associate with more? What era are you more emotionally attached to? I would love to know. Making sure I didn't miss anything important on my phone. I think we're good. But if nobody else wants to call in, I mean, I've been live for about an hour. I don't mind wrapping it up, but I'm trying to leave it open for a little bit longer just to hear from you guys. I don't want anyone to feel left out. So if you want to call in, now's your shot. The StreamYard link, again, is pinned down below in the live chat. And also, again, if you guys want to be a part of an awesome community with exclusive 49ers content, behind-the-scenes stuff, a great community chat, monthly giveaways, and all the other things that I have cooking up over on our Patreon, check out our Patreon, guys. Patreon.com/keepingthefaith. I promise you it's going to be worth your time. It's going to be a very fun time over there on Patreon with content that you will not get here on YouTube. Patreon.com/keepingthefaith. I'm trying to build it up. I'm trying to build it, brick by brick, as Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch would say. But check it out. It's worth your time. Mr. Layback in the chat, he's chiming in. He says, JD is a really cool cat to rap with. I appreciate that, Mr. Layback. Same to you, my man. Thank you for calling in, and thank you for always being a loyal viewer to the program. So, all right. If no one wants to call in, I gave you guys my thoughts. I laid it out there. I was talking for 45 minutes straight, and I tried to open it up to you guys. I want to hear from the faithful. That's why I love doing these live streams, because I get a chance to interact with you guys and hear other opinions, other perspectives about the team that we all love very, very much. And I know it's the downtime. I know it's the slow period of the year, and people are living their normal lives before football season starts, and everything else goes out the window, because I know when football season starts, nothing else matters. So people are trying to get things done now, because come August and September, real life goes out the window for a huge demographic of people, because football season is just that important. I'm a season ticket holder. I spend countless hours at Levi Stadium during the football season. So, but I would love to hear from you guys if you're out there watching. So, but if not, that's okay. We'll try next time. No big deal. So, appreciate everyone for tuning in. I appreciate all the chat participation. I appreciate the caller that we did get. And I will be coming back with some more content this week. I have a video coming, and I have another live stream that I'm going to do here within the next day or two or three in short order. I have another live stream with another cool content idea, another topic that I want to get into before the team gets into training camp in the month of July. So with that, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Oh, we got a first timer. We got a first timer. Andrew Martinez says, great show. It's my first time here. Have a good night, JD. Andrew, you have a good night too, man. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you know whenever we drop any content on this channel, whenever we go live, all that stuff. Make sure you don't, make sure you don't miss a stream or a video. Make sure you have the notifications on it. Appreciate you, Andrew, for checking out the show. I think we're gonna call it there. I think we're good, but I will catch you guys very soon. Like I said, more content coming this week. As always, man. Football season will be here before you know it, guys. Keep the faith, and let's go Niners. And I'll be back very soon.